The massive crystalline hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with conversations in 100 different languages. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the monthly meeting, but today there was something special on the agenda. Commander Thex, a tall being with purple skin and 4 arms, stood at the center platform with a satisfied grin spreading across his face. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Thex began, his voice echoing through translation devices. "Today we discuss the amusing case of the third planet in the Sol system." A holographic image appeared above him, showing Earth spinning slowly. The humans call it Earth. Laughter rippled through the assembly as various representatives pointed at the small blue world. Some made jokes in their native tongues. Others simply shook their heads in disbelief. Admiral Jin-Ho sat perfectly still in the human delegation section. His uniform was simple compared to the elaborate robes and armor worn by other species. Next to him, Ambassador Su-Jin shuffled through some papers, but her face remained calm. Both humans had learned long ago that showing emotion at these meetings only encouraged the aliens to mock them more. "Let us examine their so-called technology," Thex continued, waving one of his 4 hands dramatically. New holographic images appeared, showing Earth spaceships. "Look at these metal boxes. They use fusion drives, the same technology we abandoned thousands of years ago. It is like watching children play with fire sticks while we wield plasma cutters." A being that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles in what passed for laughter among its species. "Their weapons are even worse. Plasma cannons that barely scratch our shields. Kinetic projectiles. How primitive. Next they will throw rocks at our ships." The assembly erupted in more laughter. Some aliens slapped the table with their appendages. Others made rude gestures in the direction of the human delegation. Jin-Ho and Su-Jin remained motionless, their faces showing nothing. "But wait," Thex said, raising all 4 hands. "There is more entertainment to be had." A new image appeared, showing a strange-looking ship with an unusual design. Its hull was black, with odd curves and protrusions that made no sense to conventional engineering. "They call this the Prometheus. It is their newest prototype." The laughter grew even louder. A reptilian being with scales that changed colors pointed at the image with a clawed finger. "That thing looks like it was built from spare parts. Did they forget how to make proper shapes?" "Our intelligence reports," Thex continued, clearly enjoying himself, "indicate that this vessel uses what they call experimental systems. Their engineers claim it will revolutionize space warfare." He paused for dramatic effect. "We have seen the leaked specifications. The power systems make no logical sense. The weapon configurations violate basic physics as we know them. Even their shield generators use impossible combinations of technologies." A being made of living crystal resonated, with sounds that translated to mockery. Perhaps they have confused science fiction entertainment with actual engineering plans. "Indeed," Thex agreed, his grin widening. "The funniest part is that they actually built this thing, can you imagine? They wasted resources on what is clearly a non-functional design. Our experts estimate it would fall apart under its own weight if it tried to leave their solar system." More laughter filled the hall. Some aliens were now openly pointing at Jin-Ho and Su-Jin, making comments about human intelligence. The ambassador of the bird-like Aviron species squawked something that roughly translated to flying coffins in reference to human ships. Thex gestured for quiet. When the laughter died down, his expression became more serious. "Which brings us to the main announcement. The Zephyrian Empire has decided that Earth's solar system contains resources too valuable to leave in the hands of such primitives." Jin-Ho's jaw tightened slightly, but he remained silent. "Therefore," Thex continued, "our 7th Fleet will be departing within the month to claim the Sol system for the Empire. We expect complete surrender within days of our arrival. After all, what could primitive humans possibly do against our advanced gravitic drives and quantum disruptors?" The alien representatives cheered and applauded. Several made betting jokes about how quickly the humans would surrender. Thex looked directly at the human delegation. "Do the humans have anything to say? Any final words before their inevitable defeat?" Admiral Jin-Ho stood slowly. The hall fell quiet, waiting to hear what the human would say. Every eye was on him as he straightened his simple uniform and looked around the assembly. After a long moment, he simply said, "No, we have nothing to say." The silence stretched uncomfortable until Thex laughed. "Nothing? How disappointing. Very well. Meeting dismissed. Prepare to watch the shortest military campaign in galactic history." As the aliens filed out, chattering excitedly about the upcoming invasion, Jin-Ho and Su-Jin remained seated. They waited until the hall was nearly empty before finally standing. To leave. Walking toward the exit, Su-Jin whispered, "They have no idea what they're getting into." Jin-Ho nodded. "Let them laugh. The Prometheus will speak for itself." 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council meeting. The massive Zephyrian 7th Fleet now hung at the edge of Earth's solar system like hungry vultures. 50 warships of various sizes formed a crescent formation, their hulls gleaming with the purple energy of gravitic drives. Each ship was the size of a city, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Commander Vorthak sat in his flagship's command chair, reviewing the tactical display. His species looked like tall humans, but with grey skin and large black eyes. He had conquered dozens of star systems, and this one would be just another easy victory in his record. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we detect only one human vessel approaching our position." Vorthak's thin lips curled into a smile. "One ship? Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. Scanning now." The officer paused, frowning at his instruments. "Sir, this is strange. Our sensors cannot get a clear reading on their vessel." "What do you mean?" Vorthak stepped forward to look at the tactical display. Where he expected to see clear lines showing the enemy ship's size, mass, and weapon systems, instead, there were fuzzy readings that kept changing. "The energy signatures keep shifting," the sensor operator explained. "One moment it reads like a small cruiser, the next like a massive dreadnought. Sometimes our instruments show no weapons, then suddenly detect enough firepower to level a moon." Vorthak waved dismissively. "Their primitive technology is probably interfering with our sensors." "No matter. Magnify the visual display." The main screen showed a strange black ship approaching them. The vessel was smaller than they had expected, but its shape was unlike anything in their databases, where normal ships had clean lines and geometric patterns. This one seemed to flow like liquid metal. Its surface was covered with structures that made no engineering sense. "That is the Prometheus?" Vorthak asked, trying not to laugh. "It looks like a piece of abstract art, not a warship." On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Min-Ho stood calmly watching his instruments. His crew of 30 worked quietly at their stations. The ship felt different from normal vessels. The walls seemed to pulse gently, and strange humming sounds came from the experimental systems. "Captain," Chief Engineer Yunji reported from her station, "all systems are running perfectly. The adaptive matrix is responding well to their sensor sweeps." Min-Ho nodded. "Good. Let them wonder what they are looking at. Open a channel to the Zephyrian flagship." The communication system crackled to life. Vorthak's grey face appeared on the screen, his expression one of amused superiority. "I am Captain Min-Ho of the Earth vessel Prometheus," the human said in a steady voice. "You have entered our solar system with weapons charged and hostile intent. I am offering you one chance to leave peacefully. Turn your fleet around and depart immediately." For a moment, Vorthak just stared at the human on the screen. Then he began to laugh. The sound started as a chuckle, but grew into loud, mocking laughter that filled his bridge. His crew joined in, pointing at the display and making jokes in their alien language. One chance. Vorthak wiped tears from his large eyes. "Captain Min-Ho, you must be joking. We have 50 warships. You have one small ugly vessel that our sensors cannot even read properly. Do you seriously think you can threaten us?" Min-Ho's expression did not change. "I am not threatening you, Commander. I am warning you. Leave now, and no one needs to. Die today." Vorthak's laughter died. "Warning? Warning?" His voice rose to a shout. "Human, your entire species is about to become property of the Zephyrian Empire. Your pathetic little ship will be the first casualty in what will be the shortest war in galactic history." "Have it your way," Min-Ho replied quietly, then cut the communication. On the Zephyrian flagship, Vorthak turned to his weapons officer. "Power up all quantum disruptors. Target that abomination they call a ship. We will vaporize it in one strike and then proceed to Earth for their unconditional surrender." "Sir," the tactical officer interrupted, "I'm still getting impossible readings from their vessel. Should we perhaps study it more before attacking?" Vorthak glared at him. "Study it? It is one primitive ship against our entire fleet. Power weapons and fire on my command." All 50 Zephyrian vessels began charging their weapons. Purple energy built up along their hulls as quantum disruptors prepared to unleash devastating force. On the Prometheus, Minho watched the alien fleet's preparations calmly. "Eunji, are our systems ready?" "All systems green, Captain. The ship is eager to show what humans can do." Minho smiled slightly. "Very well. Let us give them a demonstration they will never forget." He touched a control on his chair. "All hands, prepare for combat. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth today. We are showing the galaxy that underestimating humanity was their biggest mistake." The black ship seemed to shimmer as unknown systems activated throughout its hull. The Prometheus was ready to prove that everything the aliens thought they knew about human technology was wrong. The space around the Prometheus erupted in purple light as 50 Zephyrian warships fired their quantum disruptors simultaneously. The beams of energy, each capable of destroying a moon, converged on the small human vessel. Commander Vorthak grinned as he waited to see the Prometheus reduced to atoms. But something impossible happened. The purple energy beams reached the Prometheus and simply bent around it, as if the ship existed in a different layer of reality. The deadly quantum energy curved in graceful arcs before dispersing harmlessly into space, leaving the human vessel completely untouched. "What?" Vorthak stood up from his command chair, staring at the display. "How is this possible?" On the Prometheus. Bridge Hyun watched her console with satisfaction. "Captain, the adaptive shields are performing perfectly. We have converted 87% of the incoming energy into power for our systems." Captain Min-ho nodded calmly. "Thank you, Hyun. Junwoo, return fire. Show them what human weapons can do." "Weapons." Officer Junwoo's fingers moved across his control panel. "Kinetic lance is ready, sir. Targeting solution locked." "Fire," Min-ho ordered. Twin beams of impossibly bright light shot from the Prometheus. But these were not energy weapons like the aliens used. The humans had accelerated tiny metal projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed using gravity manipulation. The projectiles struck the nearest Zephyrian cruiser's shields. The alien shields, designed to stop energy weapons, offered no resistance to the kinetic attack. The projectiles punched through the barrier like it was not there, then continued through the ship's hull, leaving perfectly round holes from front to back. "Direct hit," Junwoo reported. "Their shields cannot stop physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds." Throughout the Zephyrian fleet, alarms began sounding. The cruiser that had been hit was venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. But that was just the beginning. Commander Vorthak opened a communication channel to the Prometheus. "This is impossible. Our shields can stop any known weapon. What kind of technology are you using?" Captain Min-ho appeared on the screen still, looking completely calm. "Commander, you made a mistake that many species make. You assumed that because our technology appears primitive, we think in primitive ways." "What do you mean?" Vorthak demanded. "Your people, like most galactic species, have spent thousands of years perfecting the same basic technologies. You make your gravitic drives more efficient, your energy weapons more powerful, your shields stronger. But you have never asked the important question." "Which is?" Min-ho smiled. "What if the fundamental principles you are using are wrong?" "That is nonsense. The laws of physics are universal." "You are correct, but your understanding of those laws is incomplete." Min-ho gestured to someone off-screen. "While you were making better versions of old technology, we chose to understand reality itself differently." Without warning, the Prometheus simply vanished from its position. The Zephyrian sensors went wild, detecting the human ship simultaneously, in 15 different locations around their fleet. "Impossible," Vorthak shouted. "Nothing can be in multiple places at once." Hyun smiled at her console on the impossible-to-locate Prometheus. "Captain, the space-time manipulation drive is working perfectly. We are operating in 11 parallel dimensional phases simultaneously." "Thank you, Hyun. Junwoo, engage." Multiple targets. From seemingly everywhere at once, the Prometheus opened fire. Each appearance of the ship targeted a different Zephyrian vessel. Kinetic lances pierced shields and armor, while the aliens struggled to understand what they were fighting. "This is not possible," Vorthak screamed into the communications. "You cannot violate physics," Minho's voice came from all around the Zephyrian commander. "We are not violating physics, Commander. We are using aspects of reality that your people never learned to access. While you perfected three-dimensional thinking, we learned to operate in 11 dimensions. While you used energy to power your weapons, we learned to manipulate space-time itself." 3 more Zephyrian ships exploded as kinetic projectiles found their targets. The aliens tried to return fire, but their sensors could not lock onto the phase-shifting human vessel. "You see," Minho continued, his voice eerily calm as chaos erupted around the alien fleet, "humanity has a saying: think outside the box. While you built bigger boxes, we decided to leave the box entirely." Commander Vorthak watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by a single ship that should not exist. "What are you?" he whispered. "We are what happens when you underestimate the species that learned to split atoms before we even left our home planet," Minho replied. "And now, Commander, you have a choice. Surrender, or watch your entire fleet become a demonstration of human engineering." The Prometheus materialized directly in front of the Zephyrian flagship, close enough that they could see the strange flowing patterns on its hull. Somehow, without any logical explanation, the human ship was generating its own localized gravity field that was tearing at the alien vessel's structure. Vorthak stared at the impossible sight, finally understanding that everything he thought he knew about warfare had just become obsolete. The battle had turned into a nightmare for the Zephyrian fleet. Commander Vorthak watched in horror as his ships tried desperately to track the Prometheus. The human vessel moved like nothing they had ever seen, appearing in multiple places at once, defying every law of physics that the aliens understood. "Sir," his tactical officer shouted, "the human ship is engaging 12 different targets simultaneously. How is this possible?" "I don't know," Vorthak roared back. "Just keep firing. We have 50 ships. They have one." But it was not that simple. Every time the Zephyrians adjusted their tactics, the Prometheus adapted instantly. When they tried to surround it, the ship simply existed in too many places to corner. When they focused all fire on one location, that version of the ship would absorb the energy while other copies attacked from different angles. On the Prometheus bridge, Captain Minho watched his crew work with quiet efficiency. "Status report," he requested. Yujin, the AI systems officer, looked up from her console. "The ship's artificial intelligence is learning from every enemy attack pattern. It has already identified 17 weaknesses in their fleet formation and tactical responses." "Excellent. Begin the infiltration protocol." Yujin nodded and began typing rapidly. On her screen, thousands of lines of code flowed like water. "Sir, our AI is attempting to breach their computer networks now." The Prometheus had been designed with something no other species had considered, an AI that could learn and evolve. During combat, while the aliens focused on building stronger weapons and thicker armor, humans had created a ship that became more dangerous the longer the fight lasted. "Connection established," Yujin reported. "We are inside their command systems." Across the Zephyrian fleet, strange things began happening. On one ship, the weapon systems suddenly rotated to point at their own allies. On another, the gravity generators started fluctuating wildly, throwing the crew around like toys. "What is happening?" Vorthak screamed as his own systems began behaving erratically. "Engineering report." "Sir, something is in our computers," his chief engineer responded. "It is rewriting our code faster than we can stop it." The truth was even worse. The Prometheus AI was not just hacking their systems. It was teaching itself to be better at hacking by studying Zephyrian technology in real time. Every new system it encountered became easier for it to understand and control. "Sir," Yujin reported to Captain Minho, "the AI has learned their computer language. It is now turning their own systems against them. The learning algorithm is exceeding all expectations." Minho nodded. "Phase 2. Begin the demonstration." 3 Zephyrian destroyers suddenly stopped firing on the Prometheus and turned their weapons on their fellow ships. Their crews fought desperately to regain control, but the human AI was now firmly in command of their systems. "This is impossible," Vorthak shouted into his communication system. "Our computers have the best security in the galaxy." Captain Minho's face appeared on every screen throughout the Zephyrian fleet. "Commander, you are fighting a weapon that learns from every mistake you make. Your security was designed to keep out other Zephyrian hackers, not an AI that can evolve. New attack methods in milliseconds." The Prometheus suddenly appeared directly next to Vorthak's flagship, so close that the two hulls almost touched. But somehow, the human ship's gravity field was perfectly balanced so that neither vessel was damaged. "Look closely, Commander," Minho continued. "Do you see the hull of the Prometheus?" Vorthak stared at the black surface of the human ship. At first it looked solid, but as he watched, he realized the hull was moving, flowing. The entire ship was covered in what looked like liquid metal that constantly reshaped itself. "Nanotechnology," Yujin whispered to herself in wonder. "The ship is rebuilding itself with every hit." "That is correct," Minho said, somehow having heard her. "Our ship does not just adapt to your attacks, it physically changes to counter them. You are not fighting a warship, Commander. You are fighting a living weapon that becomes stronger with every shot you fire." More Zephyrian ships fell under the control of the human AI. Now 15 vessels were firing on their own fleet while their crews watched helplessly. The remaining ships tried to destroy the Prometheus, but their attacks only made it more powerful. "Sir," Vorthak's tactical officer said quietly, "we have lost 30% of the fleet. The remaining ships are reporting complete system failures across all networks." Vorthak stared at the battle display. In less than an hour, the most powerful fleet in the Zephyrian Empire was being destroyed by a single human ship, a ship that not only defended itself but learned from every attack and grew stronger. "What have we done?" he whispered. "We laughed at them. We called them primitive." The Prometheus appeared on 5 different sides of his flagship at once. Each image of Captain Minho looked directly at him through the screen. "You assumed that primitive weapons meant primitive thinking," all 5 versions of Minho said in unison. "You never considered that we might choose to fight differently, not because we could not copy your technology, but because we found better ways to wage war." The remaining Zephyrian ships began sending surrender signals as their crews realized they were facing something beyond their understanding. The humans had not built a better ship. They had redefined what a ship could be. The great crystalline hall of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Where once alien representatives had laughed and mocked, now they sat in stunned silence. The surviving members of the Zephyrian 7th Fleet had returned with impossible tales. An entire fleet of 50 warships, destroyed or disabled by a single human vessel. In 57 minutes. Commander Vorthak stood at the center platform, his grey skin now pale with shock. His voice shook as he spoke. "Honored council members, everything we thought we knew about human technology was wrong, completely wrong." The insect-like being that had mocked Earth before clicked its mandibles nervously. "One ship. You lost 50. Ships to one human vessel?" "It was not just a ship," Vorthak replied. "It was something else, something that learned, adapted, evolved during combat. It could be in multiple places at once. It used our own systems against us. It grew stronger with every attack we made." Murmurs of disbelief filled the hall. The reptilian ambassador, whose scales changed color, was now displaying patterns that meant fear. "Impossible. The laws of physics do not allow such things." "That is what we thought," Vorthak said. "But the humans found ways to use laws of physics that we never knew existed." The massive doors to the council hall opened with a deep rumble. Admiral Jinho entered, followed by a new human ambassador, Sumin. They walked calmly to the human delegation section. Jinho's uniform looked the same as before, simple and plain. But now the aliens looked at it with new eyes. The council leader, a being of pure energy contained in a crystal form, spoke with a voice like wind chimes. "Admiral Jinho, we have heard disturbing reports about the battle with our 7th Fleet." Jinho stood slowly. "What specifically disturbs you, Council Leader? That we defended ourselves, or that we defended ourselves successfully?" The hall erupted in nervous chatter. Several aliens began speaking at once, but the Admiral continued in his calm voice. 3 months ago, you laughed at our technology. You called our ships flying coffins and metal boxes. You made jokes about our primitive weapons and fusion drives. He paused, looking around the room. You dismissed our prototype as a piece of abstract art. Commander Thex, who had led the mockery before, now looked uncomfortable. Admiral, we may have underestimated your capabilities, but surely you cannot threaten the entire galaxy with one ship. Ambassador Su Min smiled for the first time since entering the hall. She touched a control on her wrist. Above the assembly, holographic displays appeared showing star maps. Dozens of red dots appeared across the galaxy. One ship, she said softly. Who said we only built one? The hall fell, completely silent. The red dots on the map showed the locations of human vessels throughout galactic space, ships that had appeared overnight in systems across the known worlds. During the battle with your fleet, Admiral Jinho continued, the Prometheus was gathering data, learning about your technology, your strategies, your weaknesses. That information has been shared with every human vessel in space. The bird-like Aviran representative squawked in alarm. How many ships do you have? Enough, Jinho replied simply. But that is not the point. You see, you made a fundamental error in understanding humanity. He walked to the center of the hall, his voice carrying to every corner. You assumed that because our weapons looked different, we were primitive. You thought that because we built things differently, we were stupid. You believed that because we did not copy your designs, we were inferior. The crystalline beings that had laughed before now resonated with sounds of fear. One of them spoke, its voice like breaking glass. What are you saying, Admiral? I am saying that you laughed because you could not understand, Jinho replied. We did not build ships for your wars. We built ships to end them. The holographic display changed, showing technical readouts from the Prometheus. The aliens stared at data that made no sense to them. Power systems that seemed to violate conservation of energy. Weapons that used physics they did not recognize. Shields that turned enemy fire into power. Every attack makes our ships stronger. Admiral Jinho explained, every new technology you use against us becomes something we can learn from and counter. You wanted to show your superiority over primitive humans. You have instead given us the data we need to surpass everything. You have. Ambassador Su Min stepped forward. The Galactic Council has a choice. We can coexist peacefully with mutual respect and trade, or you can continue to see us as primitives who need to be conquered. But know this, Admiral Jinho added, his voice growing firm. The age of underestimating humanity is over. We did not seek this fight, but we will always be ready for it. Our ships are waiting throughout the galaxy. Not to conquer, but to protect. Not to start wars, but to end them. The Council leader's crystal form pulsed with uncertain energy. What do you propose, Admiral? Jinho looked around the hall one final time. A new understanding, based on respect, rather than mockery, based on recognition that different does not mean inferior, and based on the knowledge that humanity will never be anyone's property. The silence that followed was filled with the weight of a new era beginning. The aliens had learned something that would change the galaxy forever. Never underestimate the species that taught itself to split atoms before leaving its home planet.